Real Conversations in the QC is sponsored by Accentra Credit Union. This is Real Conversations in the QC,
where Black experiences matter.
Black stories are heard.
And real conversations happen. So, let's get started. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Real Conversations in the QC. I'm host and contributor Teresa Bryant.
And I'm contributor Jasmine Butler. This week, we take a close look at second chances and a cost of having a criminal record. I sat down with Dwayne Hodges, a local business owner who once served time.
He shares with us his emotional return to the community and how he navigated the challenges of reentry, including job rejections and reuniting with his family. Take a listen.
Dwayne, thank you so much for joining us on Real Conversations today.
Thank you.
So for our viewers, let's talk about who you are. So who were you before incarceration?
So I was just an individual really kind of just wandering in life. I had just got out of the military and I was just trying to figure myself out. You know, I was young. I was 22 years old, actually, and I was just trying to figure things out. Life was just kind of, how they say nowadays, lifing for me, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, where I wanted to be. And, you know, I was just an individual working odd end jobs here and there, and then just got caught up in the life, to be honest with you.
Yeah, which it happens to a lot of young Black men. So what was the hardest part for you mentally and emotionally?
Are you talking about before the incarceration or after?
Let's say
before. Okay.
Before.
So really the hardest part for me emotionally was really, I had children, you know, and I had two. I actually had one kid, and then my kids, I had other kids, they were already born, and trying to figure out how to be a dad to them. You know, that was, you know, even before that, I was trying to figure out how to be a provider, and I've always prided myself on being a provider, but it was hard. It was trying to figure out like what I wanted to do, and emotionally it was really hard because as a man, you want to be that protector, you want to be that provider, you want to be that person that's doing everything for everybody in a sense, but when you can't, you just feel down. You know, you feel down on yourself, and depression and those things that, you know, anxiety kicks in, and you can't be, you know, and then you don't know where to go for help because people are telling you that's not a real thing. So it was very hard during that time.
So, okay, now fast forward, you've done your time. So what was that first 24 hours after release like?
Well, obviously I was happy because I was no longer in that place. And you know, and I'll be honest, when I walked out of those doors, I said to myself, I said to the people around me, anybody that would listen, that I was never coming back there. And I was just happy, you know. I got a good meal. I got to see some of my family that I hadn't seen in a long time because I was gone roughly about a decade. And so when you're gone that long from society, it changes a lot. You know, my kids, I really didn't get a chance to see them when I first got out because I was restricted to like the halfway house and what you could do there. But it was emotional, but I was just glad to be away. I was elated to not have to wake up and see a bunch of men and guards telling you got to do this, guards telling you got to do that. But I was happy. I was just really happy. That's really the overwhelming feeling.
So coming back to this community, did you feel welcome back, or did you feel judged, or maybe even a combination of both?
I believe to me, it was a combination of both for me because I didn't leave on like, I'm going to say I left on bad terms. I left with some good relationships with some people, but also, you know, the aspect of the really thoughts I was having about like, oh my gosh, I got to apply for a job and now I have a felony. You know, I have to go and try to, you know, reintegrate myself back into the lives of my children. And it's going to be hard because I've been gone for so long. So I felt there's a certain part of me that felt welcome because I did go to church. Like as soon as I got out, I started going to a church, and I definitely felt welcome by them because they didn't. No one ever judged me there. They just made me, you know, feel at home, and I did feel at home. So that part of it was, but I was really hesitant about just the what's to come. That was what was really I had fear of.
Yeah. So definitely a combination of both. And what challenge surprised you the most during that time frame of, you know, being reaccepted or welcome back home, and all of the assumptions and the thoughts of the what ifs. What were some of the most biggest challenges?
Well, what's really crazy about me is my situation. I had prepared myself so much from when I was in there. Like, I think I read every book I could read. I was, of course, because I was a person that was into God, and I was reading the Bible, and I was preparing myself. So when I got out, I ain't gonna say I didn't face challenges, but I guess one thing that did challenge me the most was, the aspect of when you do apply for 20 jobs and nobody calls you, and you're going, man, I mean, am I not worthy of these people? Do they not feel like I can do the job, And that was probably the most challenging part, is just being rejected on so many levels. I mean, when you just constantly going to apply for things and then the people are just telling you no. Because I'm not just saying I was told yes my whole life, but it was just very difficult because I just was like, man, I'm going to get something right away and I'll be okay. Because I was reading about, like, after 7 years, they really can't still use things against you. But obviously they can see those things. And at that time I was fresh out, and so but that was one of the most challenging things. Just that rejection is hard. It's very hard.
But it sounds like you were definitely preparing yourself. You did the work while you were down to learn what is to come with all of this.
Yes, absolutely.
That's good. So what doors were closed because of your record? I know you mentioned, applications and stuff, but what specific doors were closed?
I was big, and honestly, I've been on the show before talking about voting rights, and my major in the college initially was political science. I wanted to be a lawyer, and then I wanted to go into politics, and that was like my biggest thing. I was one of those people that studied like the Jim Crow era when people were not given the right to vote. So that was something that was really important to me. And I had read about, because at the time the governor, I believe it was Tom Vilsack, who was the governor at that time, and he said that as soon as you got out, your rights was restored. But then when I tried to go vote, I went to the recorder's office and they said, you're not able to vote because you have this. And so I had to go through a whole process to get that. So because it was something you had to do before you got to that point. But it was really, that was closed, and I couldn't do it. It was very frustrating because it's like, man, I served my time and I should be able to just get this back, but it wasn't there.
So during going through that, did you ever want to give up?
I don't know. That's just that giving up was never in me. For me, I was one of those people that was always motivated by adversity, you know what I mean? Because I always felt like adversity only can make you stronger. And to me, it was just like one of those things that I just kept telling myself. And it's funny because I was reading your questions ahead of time. One of the things that made me, it was a statement. I had saw this as soon as I came in. Failure is a state of mind. Success is a state of being. And so for years, I just kept repeating that kind of statement, that mantra, because if I put failure in my mind, that's what I'm going to do, is fail. But if I just continue to work towards success, that's where I'm at the moment. So it just made me keep thinking about, what am I going to do to be successful? And I never wanted to give up because I wanted more for myself. Like I said, I had kids. I wanted my kids to have better. I just wanted more for myself.
And then also too, with the stigma of, Black men not knowing what to do when, they are released, and then having that motivation of, I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to revert back. So I have to stay, steadfast of what's to come.
And I knew what I wanted. I mean, I knew like the journey. I talked to my wife about this a lot because I had wrote up everything. They used to give us these manila envelopes, and the manila envelopes, you seal them and stuff, like a package thing or whatever. And I literally wrote up everything I wanted to do, including something like this and other things that I've done in this community over the years. I literally wrote them up and put them in a package, sealed them, and then I was just like, and I didn't put a date on them. I was just like, I'm going to do this in the future. And ironically, a lot of these things that I've done, and that's something we'll talk about, I've done it.
Yeah,
so
that's amazing. What an incredible story Dwayne shares with us.
But his journey is not over. Hear what his message is to people in the community when we come back.